Here are 4 ancient horror stories rooted in the intimate rituals of Native Canadians. Story 1. The Wendigo's Curse. Living on the edge of the dense, dark Canadian forests, I always felt a strange pull towards the unknown. The local legends of the Wendigo, a creature born from insatiable greed and cannibalism, were whispered in hushed tones. As I delved deeper into these stories, I realized they were more than mere tales. The descent into madness. I encountered a man in the village who had disappeared for months. His eyes were hollow, and he spoke of a relentless hunger. His once robust frame had withered away, leaving a gaunt, skeletal figure that haunted my dreams. He described a chilling transformation where his humanity was stripped away with each passing day. I saw the bite marks on his arms, where he had begun consuming his own flesh in a desperate attempt to satiate his hunger. He revealed the Wendigo's curse as a gradual descent into madness, driven by the insidious whispers of the forest. I noticed how he recoiled from any mention of food, his mind trapped in a never-ending cycle of hunger and disgust. The village elders shared stories of others who had succumbed to the same fate, their fates sealed by their own insatiable greed. I learned that the Wendigo's presence could be felt in the air, a palpable sense of dread that clung to the forest. He described the eerie sensation of being watched, as if the forest itself had eyes that followed his every move. The transformation was said to begin with a fever, a burning sensation that spread through the body like wildfire. I saw the fear in his eyes as he recounted the hallucinations, visions of dark figures lurking in the shadows. The Wendigo's curse was a slow, torturous process where the victim's mind was consumed long before their body. I could hear the desperation in his voice as he begged for a way to end the curse, to find peace in the afterlife. The village elders spoke of ancient rituals designed to ward off the Wendigo, but none had proven truly effective. I felt a shiver run down my spine as I realized the man before me was already lost, his fate sealed by the Wendigo's curse. The stories of those who had succumbed were filled with horror, their final moments spent in agonizing hunger and despair. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, as if the Wendigo's presence had followed me from the forest. The man's transformation was complete, his humanity replaced by a primal, insatiable hunger that knew no bounds. I saw the marks on his body, scars from his desperate attempts to stave off the hunger that consumed him. The Wendigo's curse was a reminder of the dangers that lurked in the shadows, waiting to claim those who ventured too far. The man's story was a chilling testament to the power of greed, a warning to all who sought to take more than they needed. I couldn't help but wonder how many others had fallen victim to the Wendigo, their stories lost to the darkness of the forest. The transformation was said to be irreversible, a slow descent into madness that left no room for redemption. I saw the fear in his eyes as he realized his fate, the knowledge that he would never escape the Wendigo's grasp. The village elders spoke of the Wendigo with a mixture of fear and reverence, a reminder of the forest's dark secrets. I felt a sense of helplessness as I watched the man struggle against the curse, knowing there was nothing I could do to save him. The Wendigo's presence was a constant reminder of the dangers that lay beyond the safety of the village, waiting to claim those who ventured too far. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched, as if the Wendigo's eyes were always upon me, waiting for me to make a mistake. The man's story was a chilling reminder of the power of greed and the consequences of taking more than one needed. The Wendigo's curse was a slow, torturous process where the victim's mind was consumed long before their body, leaving them trapped in a never-ending cycle of hunger and despair. I couldn't help but wonder how many others had fallen victim to the Wendigo, their stories lost to the darkness of the forest, their fates sealed by their own insatiable greed. Do you believe the curse of the Wendigo is still out there, lurking in the shadows? Leave a comment below with your thoughts. Story 2. The Skinwalker's Path. The eerie tales of skinwalkers, shape-shifting entities capable of taking on human and animal forms, were enough to send shivers down my spine. The stories were deeply rooted in the culture of various Native American tribes, including the Navajo. The first encounter. I heard whispers of a shape-shifter prowling the outskirts of our village, its presence marked by the unsettling silence of the night. My curiosity got the better of me, and I ventured out, hoping to catch a glimpse of this elusive creature. The air grew colder as I approached the forest, the trees casting long, menacing shadows that danced in the moonlight. I spotted tracks in the dirt, larger than any animal I knew, leading deeper into the dark, foreboding woods. The stories of the skinwalker flooded my mind, each more terrifying than the last, warning me of the danger I was courting. I felt a presence behind me, a cold, sinister gaze that sent chills down my spine. The sound of rustling leaves grew louder, as if something or someone was moving closer. I turned around, heart pounding, but saw nothing but darkness and the faint outlines of trees. The stories of the skinwalker's ability to mimic voices played in my mind, making me question every sound I heard. I remembered the tales of people disappearing, never to be seen again, after encountering a skinwalker. The fear of becoming one of those lost souls gripped me, yet I pressed on, driven by a morbid curiosity. I heard a low, guttural growl that seemed to come from all directions, echoing through the trees. The ground beneath me felt unstable, as if I were standing on the edge of a precipice, ready to be swallowed by the earth. I saw movement out of the corner of my eye, a shadowy figure that darted between the trees with unnatural speed. The skinwalker's path was said to be marked by symbols, ancient runes that held dark, forbidden power. I stumbled upon one such symbol, etched into the bark of a tree, its meaning lost to time but its intent clear. Danger. The air grew thick with the scent of decay, a reminder of the skinwalker's connection to death and darkness. I felt a cold hand brush against my arm, sending a jolt of fear through my body, but when I looked, there was no one there. The stories of skinwalkers taking on the forms of loved ones to lure their victims into traps played in my mind. I heard my name whispered in the wind, a voice I recognized but couldn't place, beckoning me deeper into the woods. The fear of being tricked by a skinwalker, of seeing a familiar face twisted by dark magic, haunted me. I saw a pair of glowing eyes in the distance, watching me with an intensity that made my blood run cold. The stories of skinwalkers hunting at night, using the cover of darkness to stalk their prey, filled my mind with dread. I felt a sudden urge to run, to escape the forest and the horrors it contained, but my feet refused to move. The skinwalker's path was a journey into madness, where reality blurred with nightmare and every shadow held a threat. I saw another symbol, this one carved into the ground, a circle of protection that had been broken, its power lost. The stories of skinwalkers using their victims' fear to fuel their power made me acutely aware of my own terror. I felt a presence behind me again, closer this time, as if the skinwalker were mere inches away. The air grew colder still, my breath visible in the dim light, a stark contrast to the warmth of the summer night. I heard the growl again, louder and more menacing, as if the skinwalker were preparing to strike. The stories of skinwalkers taking on animal forms, their eyes always betraying their true nature, made me wary of every creature I saw. Do you think the skinwalkers are real, or just a product of our darkest fears? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Story 3. The forbidden rituals. Deep within the heart of the Canadian wilderness, there are rituals spoken of only in whispers, forbidden ceremonies that bind the soul to dark forces. These rituals, passed down through generations, are rarely spoken of openly. The discovery. I stumbled upon an old, worn journal hidden in my grandfather's attic, its pages filled with accounts of forbidden rituals. The handwriting was shaky, as if the author had been trembling with fear while writing down the dark secrets. I read about the rituals performed in the dead of night, away from prying eyes, in secluded parts of the forest. The journal described how the participants would draw symbols on the ground, using a mixture of animal blood and ashes. I felt a shiver as I read about the chanting, an ancient language that seemed to echo off the pages. The rituals were said to summon spirits, not of the dead, but of malevolent entities that thrived on fear and suffering. I read about the sacrifices made, animals initially, but eventually the rituals demanded human offerings. The journal recounted the story of a young woman who disappeared, her screams echoing through the forest one fateful night. I saw sketches of the symbols used, each one more intricate and ominous than the last, their meanings lost to time. The rituals were meant to grant power, but the journal warned that the cost was always higher than anticipated. I read about the pact made with dark forces, a binding agreement that could never be broken. The journal described how the participants would mark their bodies with the symbols, the ink mixed with their own blood. I felt a growing sense of dread as I read about the consequences of breaking the pact, the wrath of the summoned entities. The rituals were said to take place in a clearing deep in the forest, a place where the air was always cold and the sun never shone. I found a map in the journal marking the location of the forbidden rituals, and my curiosity got the better of me. The journey to the clearing was fraught with danger, the forest seemingly alive with a malevolent presence. I saw the remnants of the rituals, the symbols etched into the ground, the air thick with the scent of decay. The journal spoke of the spirits' voices, how they would whisper secrets and temptations to those who performed the rituals. I felt a chill as I realized the journal's author had been my grandfather, his fear palpable in every word. The rituals were meant to bring prosperity, but they instead brought ruin and despair to those who dared to perform them. I read about the final ritual, the one that bound the participants' soul to the dark forces, sealing their fate for eternity. The journal's last entry was a desperate plea for forgiveness, written in shaky handwriting, as if my grandfather knew his end was near. I saw the last symbol, a circle with intricate patterns, drawn in what appeared to be dried blood on the journal's cover. The fear in my grandfather's words was a stark contrast to the power he sought, a reminder of the danger of forbidden knowledge. I couldn't shake the feeling of being watched as I read the journal, as if the spirits mentioned were aware of my presence. The ritual's descriptions were detailed, each step outlined with precision, a testament to the dark knowledge my grandfather possessed. I read about the aftermath of the rituals, the participants' slow descent into madness, their minds consumed by the dark forces they had summoned. The journal spoke of the spirits' hunger, a need for more sacrifices, driving the participants to commit unspeakable acts. I felt a sense of horror as I realized the rituals had been performed in my own backyard, the clearing just a short walk from my home. The journal's final words were a warning to never seek the power of the rituals, a cautionary tale written in blood and fear. Do you believe these forbidden rituals hold any real power, or are they just ancient superstitions? Leave a comment below with your thoughts. Story 4. The Silent Tribe. In the remote regions of Canada, there were whispers of a tribe that communicated without words. Their silence was a powerful weapon, a means of control and manipulation that was both eerie and unnerving. The first encounter. I first heard of the Silent Tribe from an old hunter, his eyes wide with fear as he recounted his encounter. The tribe was said to live deep in the forest, away from the influence of the modern world, their ways unchanged for centuries. The hunter described the eerie silence that surrounded their village, a quiet so profound it felt like the world had stopped. I ventured into the forest, following the hunter's directions, curiosity driving me to uncover the truth. The air grew still as I approached the village, the sounds of the forest fading into an oppressive silence. I saw the first member of the tribe, a tall figure standing motionless, watching me with unblinking eyes. The hunter had warned me that the tribe's silence was a form of communication, their thoughts conveyed without words. I felt a growing sense of unease as I entered the village, the silence pressing in on me like a physical weight. The tribe's members moved with a grace that was almost unnatural, their actions coordinated without a single word. I saw children playing silently, their laughter muted, their games conducted in complete silence. The hunter had mentioned the tribe's ability to control outsiders, their silence a tool of manipulation and power. I felt a cold hand on my shoulder, turning to see an elder, his eyes filled with a wisdom that seemed ancient and terrifying. The elder gestured for me to follow, leading me to a large tent at the center of the village, the air inside heavy with incense. I saw symbols painted on the walls, their meanings lost to time, but their presence felt ominous and foreboding. The elder communicated with gestures, his silence more powerful than any words could be, conveying a sense of authority and control. The hunter had spoken of the tribe's rituals, silent ceremonies that bound their members to a code of silence and obedience. I watched as the tribe gathered around a fire, their silent prayers rising with the smoke, the air thick with tension. The elder handed me a piece of cloth, motioning for me to cover my mouth, a sign of respect for their silence. I felt a sense of isolation as I followed the tribe's customs, the silence amplifying my thoughts and fears. The hunter had warned me of the tribe's power, their silence a means of controlling not just their members, but outsiders as well. I saw the fear in the eyes of a young woman, her silence a mask for the terror she felt, her body trembling as she followed the rituals. The tribe's silence was a weapon, a means of control that was both subtle and absolute, leaving no room for dissent. I felt a growing sense of dread as I realized the power of the tribe's silence, a force that could bend the will of anyone who entered their village. The elder's gaze was unyielding, his silence a testament to the strength of the tribe's traditions and their control over those who dared to enter. I saw the marks on the ground, symbols of the tribe's power, their silence a binding force that held the village together. The hunter had spoken of those who entered the village and never returned, their fate sealed by the tribe's silence. I felt a chill as I realized the tribe's silence was not just a tradition, but a means of survival, a way to protect their secrets from the outside world. The elder's gestures grew more insistent, his silence a command that I could not ignore, a force that compelled me to obey. I saw the fear in the eyes of the tribe's members, their silence a mask for the terror that lay beneath, a reminder of the power of their traditions. The hunter had warned me to leave before nightfall, but the silence of the village held me captive, a force that I could not escape. I felt a sense of helplessness as I realized the tribe's silence was more than just a tradition, but a means of control that left no room for dissent. Do you think the power of silence can truly control a person, or is it just a means of maintaining order? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And that's it from this video. See you in the next one.